Yeah, I'll do the intro.
Okay.
All right, everybody. We are back. The Soxy Chicks. It's been quite a while. And as you can probably tell, we're probably going to try to scale back some things, sort of maybe do like month recaps instead of, by the week. But we're really excited to be back here on the Pesky Report channel. I'm Bailey Von Schneider. You can catch me at Fraulein89. And as always, we got Crystal here.
Yes, I am Crystal O'Keefe at Crystal_OK on Twitter is where you can find me and various other sites and podcasts.
Yes, but because of Elon, she lost her really cool check mark. That doesn't matter anymore.
It's true. I am no longer an important public figure. Sorry.
Oh, God, stupid Elon. Anyways, outside of hating what Elon Musk has done to Twitter, we still love Twitter because it is really how we connect with other baseball fans. It's how we met through there. And so we want to jump in sort of to talk. What's the first thing you want to sort of chat about so far for this first month of baseball?
I mean, we might as well go over, we've got a lot of really hot teams that are not expected at all. And then we've got some, really bad teams, which are more confusing than anything.
Yes.
But hot teams, obviously the Rays, my White Sox just faced them. We actually finally won a game, ending our 10-game losing streak. But the Rays have been absolutely insane this year.
Ridiculously so. Like, the more and more I look at that roster, the more and more I am confused by how good they are. And it's both good and bad for baseball, because it's great that you can have competitiveness in this sport, but it's bad when you have rich owners, like an owner that you have, that says, well, we can really play this small ball and not have to spend money, and look at how great the Rays are. Yeah, the Rays are just like one team that's really good at doing it because they've been doing it for years, whereas like these teams, it's like you need the mix of what the Rays do and spending, like what the Dodgers have done. They took Friedman from the Rays and then gave him money, and he's like, oh, I can do both of these things.
Yeah, and it's wild. I was looking at comparisons. Their payroll is $105 million less than the White Sox payroll right now. So for them to produce this product, and even with Austin Meadows gone, he was phenomenal on that team. He's out of there, and they're still just constantly producing runs all the time.
It doesn't seem to matter that if they lose someone that helps them, they find someone, but then they find someone that might even actually be better.
Yeah.
To replace that person. And it's obscene, especially the factory of pitching. And it's like, everybody makes the joke. It's like, oh, he was trash, but now he's going to be great. I mean, Jeffrey Springs was the perfect example. He was so bad for the Red Sox in 2020, like terrible. I mean, most of the Red Sox were terrible in 2020, but Jeffrey Springs was like a joke. And then he goes and he looks like throwing like 8 shutout innings, and you're like, what?
Yeah. Then we've
That's
got
Tampa Bay.
We've got the O's, who it looked like they were really shaping up to be something really good last year. So this is not as big of a surprise, but just how well they've been dominating this whole league. I mean, they're high up there in the standings. I think they're just second. Yeah, they're just second, right behind the Rays, with 19-9.
Like, again, like you said, they were building to something, but I still didn't think that they were necessarily like there yet. Right. So I was like, what's it like? Why? Or like, how's this happening? I mean, I hate that it's all literally in my division, but I'll get into the ridiculousness of the division that my favorite team plays in, which is so unfair. And especially when you get Baltimore, who used to be like the laughing stock, actually playing really solid baseball, it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah. And I mean, it's Adley Rutschman. That kid is
he's so good.
So good. I actually bought an O's jersey with Rutschman on it.
Nice. I don't blame you. He's great. He's fun to watch. He seems like a really great guy. Somebody to root for. So like the O's hit really well on that first pick.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got the Rangers, who just beat the Yankees 14-1.
I love that.
Wow, they've also been incredible. Also, they're now DeGrom-less. He went
What a
on the
shock.
IL. He was having a great start too.
Of course he was, because he's Jacob deGrom.
He looked like a vintage DeGrom
Yeah.
for the first few weeks, and then boom,
Injury.
back in the IL.
Yeah. And it sucks because it's like he's that good and then he's that injury prone, and it's almost a joke at this point.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Kind of a countdown to when he'll be on the IL and for how long.
Yeah, and all that money. Like at the same time, it's like you kind of don't blame a team for paying the best player to do what he does, but then at the same time, you're also thinking, well, he's gonna get hurt too, and it happened already.
So it's April. It's the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got the Braves. Who cares? They're always good.
Yeah.
But then the biggest one is the Pirates, and they're implosion right now. They're in first.
Again, that one doesn't make any sense to me, and we'll see if it sort of plateaus at all. I do love the idea of, like, I know you made some notes about extensions, and Brian Reynolds, who was crying in the offseason about, like, please trade me, I don't want to be at Pittsburgh, to they kind of play well for like a month, and he's like, okay, I'll stay here. Yeah. What if all of a sudden, like, they go back to being the Pirates and then you're stuck there, and then are you going to complain again that you want to leave? It's like, maybe just hold off a little bit, buddy. I mean, I know you're $100 million richer, and maybe you actually like Pittsburgh, even though you didn't make it seem like you did in the offseason, but
it's
good for them signing him, and good for him staying, I guess. Hopefully it works out.
It's like the Chris Bryant deal. Who cares about playing in the Rockies, but at least he's making money.
Oh, God. But the thing is, at least there's like I can see the Pirates. They're already doing it. But then, like, that's the thing. Like, Ben Cherington is really good at developing, and he's allowed to do that there. Whereas, like, he did it, and then they fired him because they just wanted instant gratification, and then there's terrible contracts and things like that. So when you allow him to do what he does best, he gives you what the Pirates are going to do, and there's probably sustainability there. Whereas, like, I don't see anything in Colorado that would have enticed Chris Bryant other than it being closer to Las Vegas. But you know what? The A's are going to be there, so are you going to now want to be traded? I don't know.
Let's go to the A's, Chris. No, he's getting a little old. By the time the A's are in Vegas,
he'll be.
He's going to be a crypt keeper. The Brewers have been good. Again, that's not super surprising, especially when that division is super weak.
Must be nice to be in a weak division. Like, what's that feel like?
Well, I'm in a weak division, and it's still not great.
Yeah. That's true.
We've got the Diamondbacks, who have been on a tear.
Diamondbacks they also, I felt like, were in that, like, there is something good coming. Like, I felt like that about the Tigers, but then they weirdly are regressing in a strange way. I thought they were sort of like on that cusp.
Yeah, I agree, but it's fun to watch. I mean, they're also atop the West, so who knows what's going to happen down the line? Who knows if any of these teams are going to regress? I'm hoping, selfishly, the Pirates do not regress.
I like the Pirates too. I do too.
Yeah, I just love them.
I just love when you get, like, teams like the Dodgers and San Diego that just spend all of the money, and they're, in second and third, and San Diego especially at 500. And the trades and the money and the ridiculousness, and Xander Bogaerts saying he wants to go to a winner. The team you left has a better record, baby. So you just wanted to go where the money was.
Gosh.
And you're in San Diego. I can't fault anybody for wanting to, like, live in San Diego, though.
No, it's got to be wonderful, but
yeah.
Shall we move on to our terrible teams?
Yes. I will say, though, you put my team down here. My team is not terrible. My team has a winning record. My team is in the toughest division, and they are tied currently with the powerhouse Yankees for last in the division. But I do agree that there are some other teams that are playing poorly, or then there are teams that are sort of in that mediocrity, like the Astros. And you're like, So it's been a weird start. Like, it's been a weird first month.
Yeah, I talked to somebody for the Astros for the other podcast, one of the other podcasts I do, and he said, losing Verlander was obviously a big gut punch to that starting rotation anyway. So he doesn't even feel great. And again, those Astros have been winning and winning and winning since, forever now. They're getting old. They're getting rusty. Yeah. So I have to think that this might be the year that they really just start to decline.
Yeah. I mean, it does happen. It definitely does happen. But I didn't necessarily think losing Justin Verlander was that bad, considering that, like, Christian Javier looked like he took a big step forward. Like, I thought they at least had young enough starting pitching to really help get them, at least still within, striking distance of their division. And they're, like, again, they're sort of in that, like, mediocrity, slightly above, 500 for, the month so far. So it's not like they're the Colorado Rockies all of a sudden, but it's going to be more difficult when you have, the Rangers willing to actually spend money to win that division.
Yeah. Obviously, Rockies, Nationals, A's, they're all Royals, they're all kind of constantly really down there. But I was more surprised with both Cardinals and Mariners being so low, because the Cardinals kind of went on a tear last year, and the Mariners have a ton of young, talented players right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of these have been surprising on both things, like the surprisingly good teams and the surprisingly bad teams. And you're like, wow, it's like the White Sox. Like, I did not expect it to be this bad, but I know that you could probably speak to it. There seems to be more turmoil going on within everything organizationally, within that clubhouse. That is probably the reason they're playing like this too.
Yeah, there definitely is. I know when Jose Abreu left for the Astros, he made a comment about how the clubhouse is a mess and he didn't feel like a leader. It didn't feel like a family, which is disappointing to hear for sure, because we thought all this time like he was just kind of the dad of the White Sox and everybody loved him. And then there's just been so many just ridiculous swaps. We've had a ton of injuries. We've got Tim Anderson out, Yoan Moncada out. Luis Robert is in a terrible slump.
Got benched, right? After that, like, really lollygag into first.
He did. And then some of our starting pitchers just didn't start off really great. Like, both Lance Lynn and Lucas Giolito played some really bad games. Yeah. They turned it around, but they did not start off hot either. So between all of the changes that have been made, with Pedro Gaffal coming in, Tony La Russa stepping out.
Yeah.
It's been a weird year. And then on top of that, we've got it noted, obviously, later on, but Liam Hendriks was out with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He has since recovered. He kicked cancer's ass. Like, he's back. He's actually going to start rehabbing pretty soon. He's going through his physical. I know. It was like, I felt like 2 months. It felt like 2 whole months of him. Like, we got the news, and then boom, he's like ringing the bell because he's in remission. And was like, where did that time go?
Yeah, I feel like if there was anybody that you would picture to have, like, been like cancer, I got this in the bag and I'm going to just, like, easily defeat it. I feel like he seems like he would be that person. Just everything about him makes me think, like, oh, he's got this. This is like a cold. Like,
he just swore all throughout his chemo, and the cancer was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. I don't need to be in.
Heard that accent and was like, oh, we're gone.
I would have stayed for that accident.
I know, right? Yeah. There was a guy at a bar that sounded exactly like him one time. And I was like, at one point, I like look back and I was like, wait, are the White Sox like playing the Angels or the Dodgers? And I like look back and I saw that it wasn't him, but like it sounded, it wasn't even just like it's like an Australian accent. I was like, no, it sounded like Liam Hendriks. And I was like, oh. It's like, am I in love with this man right now?
You should have immediately messaged me. I would have been on the first flight out.
You're like, he's here. So I was like, oh my God. But yeah, no, so that's an amazing story that you at least have for your team while dealing with them playing as poorly as they have been. And it's unfortunate. But like, of course, with Tony La Russa, officially stepping away, were you excited about the guy that they hired at all? How did you feel?
So I was happy just because he is a drama-free person.
Yeah, that helps.
Does he have managerial experience to the extent that he does now? No. But he came right into Chicago. He was already doing really good things. He was addressing the media. He was going out to like mom and pop place, like, restaurants and stuff, and talking to fans all throughout the south side of Chicago. And that was just something that I feel like was needed. It was such like a fresh start for the White Sox. So I didn't really care about anything of his record. I just cared about who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And that I wasn't going to be rolling my eyes when reports come out that he was like drinking and driving.
Yeah.
Or falling asleep in the dugout. Like, he's young enough where he doesn't fall asleep in the dugout.
He'll be alert.
Those were my standards. And that's, now that I'm thinking about it, really sad to admit, but that's how bad it was in the La Russa resurgence era.
Oh, crazy. Absolutely insane. But yeah, so that's how your team's doing. My team, I feel like the Red Sox we've been dealing with some injuries, but we've been playing well enough. We are above 500. It's just been getting that consistency down. Like, we've been winning series. We're able to win series against teams in first place. And then, of course, at one point, we run into the juggernaut and at the time undefeated Tampa Bay Rays. So, like, that was a difficult series that the Red Sox had to deal with. And then, of course, Baltimore just seems to be like this thorn in their side. But Chris Sale had a really good outing today. So he's had two really strong ones. He seemed to have figured out. I also don't know. I think he may have been tipping pitches in Baltimore.
Yeah, I heard that too.
He was getting hammered. It was his first career outing, I think, without a strikeout. It was insane. Because then someone like Ryan Brazier, who I hate and should be just sent to the moon, comes in and like strikes out the side against Baltimore. So you're like starting to like really scratch your head at that point, being like, oh, did they maybe have the signs, or was he tipping? And it's like, oh, and then he came out today and he wasn't like vintage Chris Sale. Like, I'd say of like the vintage outing was when he pitched extremely well and had 11 strikeouts against the Twins. But today he went out there. We played a really solid team today, and he did his thing and he grinded through it, got into the seventh. So it's just like, if we can, start gelling it all together, because there'll be one day where like the offense is incredible and the pitching, and it's like it's not all sort of coming together yet. And I think it will. I think this team is good enough to, when healthy, like that is the thing. Like the team that Chaim Bloom wanted out there to start 2023. I think it is a wild card contending team.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially with the wild card being expanded, for sure. So I think so. So it's whether or not both of our teams can stay healthy and actually put a product on the field that can win.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, for sure.
I just hope this win today is like the start of a trend where they actually win. Even if they just win because they've yet to even win a series. They haven't even won back-to-back games yet. So,
no, yeah, that is tricky. I know, that's the thing. It's just, my thing is like, sweeps are great, but I just want to be winning series. And the Red Sox just did that. So, and then we've got an extremely difficult task coming up, a 4-game set. At least it is at Fenway against the Toronto Blue Jays. And, the Red Sox, they've got some decent pitching going out there. Like, Corey Kluber pitched well his last outing. So, we got Kluber going. Houck, it's hit or miss. I still think Houck is more for the bullpen than he is to start. But, and then Brian Bayo just pitched really well. So I'm excited. The only one that I could say is 100% definite loss is Nick Pivetta.
Yeah.
It's Nick Pivetta is a perfect 5. If you have 4 other really solid pitchers that you think, hey, we have a good chance to go out there, was you can just have Nick Pivetta either give you dog shit or somehow pitch a complete game like one hitter. Like,
right.
That's Nick Pivetta, and we know it. And it's fine if he's your 5.
Yeah, that's our Kopech. Perfectly
exactly. which is hilarious because I just felt like while the sale extension may have been completely terrible on Dave Dombrowski, but everything about that and winning in 2018, I'm like, you know what? Enjoy Kopech and Moncada, even though at the time it seems like, oh my God, you're giving up so much. And like, you never know in trades. So that's the thing is like, everybody's like now starting to see the Mookie Betts trade maybe actually be kind of okay because Connor Wong has been playing really well. And Alex Verdugo is like all-star pace.
Yeah, he's been 10, great.
Incredible. So some people are like, like no matter what, when you are trading someone who is generational, you are always going to have people that can't see beyond who Mookie Betts is. But now at this point, you have Alex Verdugo. The Red Sox, I think, now need to, Chaim Bloom needs to be like, let's sign a check and give you some money and get an extension, which I think is something that can be done. I think it should have already been done because now it's going to cost even more money. But that's beside the point. So now it's just like you're seeing things actually coming to fruition. And as good as Mookie Betts is, and this is not a knock on Mookie Betts, no matter how many times I say anything, people are like, you hate Mookie. I don't hate Mookie. I still think Mookie didn't want to stay here. That's fine. Mookie got $365 million to play in California and already won his 2020 World Series ring there. So no matter what, the Dodgers and Mookie are happy. But now I think that you're seeing Alex Verdugo and Connor Wong at this point in their career, and this is on the wrong side of 30. So I am okay with getting the greatest season Mookie Betts will ever produce and a World Series championship for it to not have to pay him $365 million while also getting two people that can help me get to the next championship. It's like fans just don't want to understand that.
Yeah, I see your replies all the time. Oh you're a trooper.
I fight, and a part of me is a sadist, so I'm like, I love to like, I'm like, you know, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm muting you, but then I'll still look and then I like messing around with them too, even though some of them just get like so defensive. I'm like, I'm not even like attacking you. I just like making fun of you in a nice really way. Yeah, for sure. But that's how I feel about my team. But then we can move into some other stuff. You made a really cool note about how insane that game was in Mexico City.
Yes. Wild.
Flying. It felt like this actually reminded me a bit of when the Yankees and the Red Sox played in London. They scored so many runs.
Yes. Something about different ballparks. I mean, I feel like the White Sox need to play in Mexico City because that was the first game in Mexico City. And there were a total of 27 home runs between the Padres and the Giants.
That is insane.
Like how does that happen? That was so fun.
I love the idea of like, you know, that is Mexico City is potentially like an expansion location. I would never want to pitch there. No. I'd be like, no, please, no. Unless you just don't care about any of your stats and they're like, here's a bunch of money. You're like, let's do this.
16 ERA.
Oh my God. So maybe we've learned that it's fun to play some exhibition games there, but maybe Mexico City's not viable for, you know, when we're going to eventually expand.
No, that was just a hitter's paradise down there. I love it.
Oh. Crazy.
Yeah, we've also got the A's are moving to Vegas.
Ugh, I hate it. I feel so bad.
I feel so bad for my A's friends, like my mutuals on there, because they're all just so pissed. And it doesn't help that the A's are just a bad product right now.
Yeah. And it's the issue is that they are there. The fans want to be there. It's like, how about you give them what they want? And it's a stadium that wasn't built for football in an area that they feel comfortable going to see a game in. Instead, you know, you've got it reminds me of Major League when she just wants the team to be so bad that they'll move to Miami.
Yes.
Like, because there's of course, there's a viability in Vegas. We're seeing it with the Golden Knights. We're seeing it with the Raiders. So they're hoping that, you know, you move them there. More people are going to watch the games. But then you're just alienating an entire fan base that has been there since however long, whatever they moved from Philadelphia. And I'm not even sure when that was, but it was years and years and years ago. So you have this developed fan base. Like Dontrell Willis came out and said that the Oakland Athletics saved his life. Like by going there and watching those games, it kept him from getting into trouble and things like that. So like that a team like that could, you know, save a young boy and get him into a sport that he fell in love with. You're taking that away from people because like, you know, I don't know. I just feel so bad.
And they have so many dedicated fans. That's what blows me away. I mean, I got so annoyed. I think it was last season when they had the big drum that they bring in. And I'm like, hey, I can't bring in a purse, but the A's can bring in this massive drum. But okay, sure. But I mean, those fans are committed because they know the product is never good, but they're still going to go into those games no matter what, because it's an experience. I mean, people still go to the White Sox games right now.
Yeah, you love your team. It makes sense. The Red Sox have been terrible throughout my lifetime too. And I lived through 2011 and the collapse. I lived through the terrible team in 2012. I lived through 2020. Like I will watch them, support them, and love them no matter how bad. But I also know that no matter how, you know, you'll get people on Twitter that complain about ownership, like this ownership wants to win. And like they've won. They are the most decorated team in this decade. Like, you know, and like not even this decade, you could even go further for this whole like freaking since the year 2000. Like no team has won more championships than the Boston Red Sox. So to say that your ownership doesn't care, that's be an A's fan, Red Sox fans. Be an A's fan. How about that? Like that, do that and see how, you know, and see how you're actually treated terribly. Or like a White Sox fan when your ownership clearly doesn't care. And it's awful. You know? So it's terrible. I feel so bad. So they will be the Las Vegas A's, or maybe they'll get a whole new name. I don't know. We'll find out in 2027. So we got a ways to wait.
And that just means I need to get out to Oakland before it's gone, because that's when I haven't checked off my list. So I need to.
I don't hate that stadium. Like I went and people are like, this is the worst ever. I've been to worse ballparks. I don't like Rogers Center at all because it's like sterile. It's in an amazing area in Toronto. The view's incredible when the dome's open, but it's sterile. I wasn't a big fan of it. I've been to Oakland and I was like, this place isn't even that bad. It was just built for football.
Yeah.
That's its big issue.
Have you been to Tropicana Field?
I have yet to be. I want to go just to say I've gone.
Oh, that's the only reason to do it, because that stadium is just the worst. The worst of the worst. Although Rogers Center has had a lot of updates, so I'm really curious to see what it's like now.
Maybe. I haven't been in a few years, so it has been a while. I was just like, whatever. And I've been inside before, so it wasn't even like I feel claustrophobic inside. Like I've been to Marlins Ballpark and was like, this place is great. So I don't know. It just felt like uncomfortable, and I felt like it was just sterile, and I was like, it's okay. But I love the city of Toronto, and I love where Rogers Center is. Like when that roof is open and you're sitting on like, you know, the third base side, oh my God, that view of the CN Tower is incredible. Like absolutely.
I've been in that CN Tower looking down on Rogers.
Yes, that's pretty cool too, because like they have the floor cut out and like you can stand and you can like see right in. Yeah,
not good for people terrified of heights and then stepping on glass in a very tall space, but it was a very cool view. I'll give it that
for sure. Absolutely.
Man.
All right. Okay. Oh, we've got some really shitty news. So the Marley Rivera video. So at first when this was coming out, I was like, you're seeing things without seeing the video. You're just like, what's going on? This is crazy. And then you see that video and you're like, what? Like, I'm sure anybody that's listening has been aware of it, but I was just like, the other reporter's like face was like, did she just call me? And Aaron Judge having to like pretend he didn't hear anything while signing autographs in front of children.
Yeah, it was just full of little kids. And
yes.
she says some of the most offensive words you could call another woman or even just another person, but in front of little kids.
Yeah.
Just wanting to be and judge.
We all get upset. We all like say stupid things, but like also we have also not said these things in a work environment, at least I hope so, and hope not,
right?
to another female reporter. It's already difficult enough as a female to get into this business, and then this is how you're treating someone else. And apparently it seems like they had bad blood in the past, but even if you've had bad blood, and let's say issues have been on both sides, let's say, you still don't call someone that, especially when you know there's 1,000 cameras around you. You got caught on camera.
Surprise. Yeah, there's no reason. Although it does remind me, there was a video I was watching, and it was like 2 minutes of Garrett Cole just being unintentionally funny. And they were asking, it was Marley that was asking, like, what pitches are you not going to throw to Shohei Ohtani? And he was like, Jesus, Marley, I'm not giving that information out. He does not need an advantage. And I was like, oh, I love that this is so timely because she's just so terrible. But hey, she got fired from ESPN.
Yes. Oh, thank God. And I never thought that, like, and I always feel bad that, like, women, like, in this sport, like, I've always been like, well, I want you to be really, really good. And there's some that I do like, but then she was one that I was just always like, nothing about her like makes me want to watch her or care about what she says. And there's always a part of me in the back of my head that's like, don't think like that, because but at the same time, I'm like, okay, maybe I was right.
Yeah, I mean, we're always in the business of like building other women up in this industry because you said earlier, it's really hard. Most stadiums are not like female friendly with their locker rooms. I think like right now it's just the Rangers, I think, that have like a really female friendly stadium, and a bunch of others have to like comply with those standards now. I think we even talked about that last season. But yeah, it's hard enough to even be able to travel with a team. And, clearly Marley did not have this exclusive interview. I think some wires were crossed, but still, that is no reason to call anybody such grotesque things.
Yeah. Oh my God. And with such like vileness behind it too. It wasn't even like there was like real, and I get she was probably angry, but the way she said it too. I mean, not like you could say that word and be like, haha, but like at the same time, there just felt like there was more behind the word too.
Yeah. Just gross.
Yeah. And then
we've got the other New York team.
Yes, the other New York team. All the money in the world, and they're okay.
It's disappointing. I'm going to see them. I'm going to both Citi Field and Yankee Stadium in July.
Oh, nice.
So I'm hoping
City's great.
Yeah, I'm hoping Max isn't getting into any more trouble.
Him like out there like whining though and being like it, and I was like, Max, you're like, come on, you can't pull a fast one. I don't care if you're Max Scherzer, like you should know. And then I remember when he like bitched constantly about being like, I never use this, I never use sticky stuff, blah blah blah, and then you literally got suspended for it. So
yeah, too much rosin and sunscreen. Although I do know he was also pissed because the time before that, it was a Yankees play, and they're like, just go wash your hands. And that was offered to Max, but he instead just went off on that ump to get the ejection and then to get the suspension. And it's funny because I just remember last season when they were doing those checks and Max like basically just like rips his pants off.
Yeah.
The ump when they're checking. And I'm just like, where is that, Max? Because you can be edgy, but don't be a dick.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And it's like ridiculous. But, they spend all the money, and Justin Verlander's also hurt too. So, Met's gonna Met.
Gosh, I'm just so angry at them right now.
Yeah, and I also feel like, we talk about the Rays owners that don't want to spend, the A's that don't want to spend, and then the opposite is like Uncle Stevie that just spends. I think both are kind of bad for baseball. Like, I think there needs to be like that happy medium where you're spending and you're developing, because it's not that it's not unfair, but there's just a ridiculousness to just being like I don't think it's smart. Because look at this. Max Scherzer's like 37 years old or 38. Justin Verlander is like almost 40. So you're investing in this short term where I think you need to invest better in your long term, but also spending. Like, that's what the Dodgers have done.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
Not to mention, they also are without Edwin Diaz right now.
Oh, after his injury. That was awful. I've never felt so bad for someone.
There were actual tears coming out of my eyes. It was just awful.
Like, so bad. Like, I feel so bad for that. But yeah, so they're down their closer that they spent all the money on. Like, Scherzer's out there doing whatever he's doing with his sticky fingers. Verlander's down. So it's tricky when you're investing so much into, older players, let's say. I mean, what happened with Edwin Diaz, that's just a friggin' freak accident.
Yeah, that was a freak accident.
Like, that's shit, like, because people are like, oh, this, like, the same thing with, like the Red Sox and Adam Duvall. He was playing so well, went to try to make a catch and broke his wrist. And everybody's like, he's injury prone. I actually proved someone that he's actually not injury prone, and the 2 injuries to that one wrist have been freak.
Yeah.
Crap that happened. So there's like somebody actually being injury prone, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and like somebody having freak accidents to them. Because yeah, both Stanton and Judge are out for the Yankees. And that definitely contributes to the Yankees not playing as well. But at the same time, even at the Yankees at full health, nothing about them scared me. Like, I don't even care. Like, at full health, they don't scare me. But yeah, that could be my bias and hating them too. But really, nothing really scared me too much.
No, Yankees don't. I mean, Garrett Cole is great, but the Yankees still don't scare me.
No, because they have Garrett Cole, and that's about it. Like, Nestor Cortez had like a weird season of being really great last year, but like outside of like Garrett Cole, nothing about their rotation, nothing about their bullpen really scares me. And sure, Aaron Judge had the season of all seasons last year, like won that MVP. When healthy, Giancarlo Stanton is very good too, but they feel redundant in that lineup. They are in essence the same type of player. So they just don't have, I don't know, a little bit of diversity in that lineup. Like, what Chaim Bloom went out and did was he went out and wanted to get a lot of hitters that will hit to contact, or they're going to take a walk. He didn't want much swing and miss in a lineup, and then you have swing and miss in both Judge and Stanton's game. So like, there's just a lot of swing and miss in that Yankees lineup, in my opinion.
Yeah, just nobody likable. Garrett Cole is the only likable person on that team for me.
And that's saying something, because like, yeah, there's just not a lot of fun guys. Like, that's what I really loved. Like, I love a lot about what the Red Sox are doing that this year. Alex Verdugo dropped an F-bomb live on the air after, and then was like immediately like, oh my God. But like had fun with it. And they look like they're having fun. Whereas last year, we've learned that there was a lot of toxicity in that clubhouse. Like, they asked, Jaron Duran has been playing out his mind. Since his call up, he has been the best hitter in baseball. And they're like, asked him, they said, hey, what's different now? He's like, I'm allowed to, he even said, I did a lot of things wrong last year. He's like, he's like, I'm not going to make excuses. I did a lot of things wrong. So he's like, I want to do those things right. But he's like, I also want to say that this clubhouse, I feel like I can be myself. I feel like I'm valued. I feel like I can go to, Kike and Justin Turner, and I can ask them questions and not feel like I'm a bother. And he pretty much said that. And of course you get a lot of, because there's like there are with Mookie stands, there's ultimate Xander stands that are like, what do you mean? Xander Bogaerts, it was pretty much said without saying it that he was a big issue in that clubhouse. that a lot of these young guys weren't allowed to just be themselves because it was sort of the old ways of this is how you do baseball. Like Tristan Casas, he likes to sunbathe before a game. And apparently he was doing it in the outfield. And they were saying, maybe don't do it in the outfield. You could do it somewhere else on the concourse before the game. So he said, oh, yeah, sure. And a lot of the new guys were like, hey, I don't give a shit what you do. You want to sunbathe? Like, sunbathe. So it was just bringing in guys like a Justin Turner who's going to be there to support young guys. And, you know, just making the clubhouse that much better for these young guys. And I think that's so important. I think that's why they've been playing better. You know? Just get that toxicity the heck out of there.
Yeah.
All right. We got good news, though. Drew Maggi, after 13 years of 1,155 minor league games, he actually got called up to the Pirates, got his first major league hit before then, unfortunately, going back down. But it's still exciting that somebody and holding on to that dream for that long, because we know minor leaguers get paid trash.
Yeah,
so just holding on to that and probably doing things in the off season to, you know, make money and just wanting to, you know, play Major League Baseball, and it's something you love and never giving up on that dream. I love that for him.
He did it was really sweet. He did get a standing ovation. I don't know if you saw it, but
I did. It was really cute.
That was just like one of those like chill inducing moments, because Andrew McCutchen, his first game back on the Pirates too, they had to call the league and approve like a minute so that he didn't get like dinged for any kind of violation from these new rules. Like they had to call ahead of time, and they were like, hey, everyone in Pittsburgh loves Andrew McCutchen. Every single person here. Because again, I was there last year while he was still on the Phillies. And he'd been gone for like 6-7 years at that point, and he was still getting standing ovations. Still. So I love that they kind of just they do allow these moments to happen that are really important and really impactful. So I'm just happy that I hope he comes back up, but I was happy to at least get a hit in that game.
That's great. So you can say no matter what, you've gotten a hit in a Major League Baseball game. So like, that's just incredible. And this is why we love this sport, is stories like this. You know, for every shitty story of like what Marley Rivera is doing, or, you know, Max Scherzer and all his money complaining about what's on his hands, you get an amazing story like this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Yeah.
This next part is amazing for Rays fans, obviously. Last night against the White Sox.
Ugh, that was insane.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. Okay. So Lance Lynn entered the 7th inning throwing a no-hitter.
Yes.
He was very efficient with his pitching. I think he only threw like 101, 103, I think is what it ended up being. So he was very efficient. No hitter on the Rays. And then suddenly it starts to get a little haywire. He walks somebody, and then Wander Franco home run.
Yeah, Wander Franco's a freak.
So they pull Lance Lynn out, and he still, you know, got really great applause, because again, it was at that point it was just 3-2.
Yeah.
But then Aaron Bummer comes in, all hell breaks loose. The Rays end up scoring 10 runs in the 7th inning. And, you know, I'm listening to the broadcast, and Jason Benetti was like, you know, there's only one person that hasn't hit a home run this series. And then boom, he hits a home run. Almost like they willed that into existence. And so, yeah, 10 runs in the 7th inning. And oh God, it was just the worst. And I had to cover that game. So naturally, I'm just sitting here like miserable, angrily typing on my keyboard and like wanting to scream, because they just frustrate me so much. But our bullpen is awful right now. There's like nothing redeeming in that bullpen.
Well, so the Red Sox last year, the pen was god awful, and this year it's actually been really good. And they're getting Chris Martin back off of the IL, because the two issues in the Red Sox pen really has been Ryan Brazier, and I don't know what compromising position he has photos Chaim Bloom in. But also there's part of like Chaim Bloom You got to have guys that are kind of your slop guys too. So if Ryan Brazier's my slop guy, sure. But then I find that like Alex Cora uses Brazier in situations where I'm like, the hell are we doing? Ryan Brazier maybe has the fastest, the like, it's like 96, 97, but it might be the straightest fastball I have ever seen. So if there's a major league hitter out there and you throw the straightest 97 right down the dick, it's going out. It doesn't, I don't care how fast you throw. Because if you look on Savant, like, fastball velocity is like great and everything else is blue because he's terrible. So him and Caleb Ort are the issues, but Caleb Ort just got, sent down to AAA because we're getting Chris Martin back. And then Joely Rodriguez, we're still waiting for him to come. So like there are pieces in the pen that are going to make the Red Sox pen even better. Kelly Jansen has been great so far this season. So the pen has come together so much more than it did last year. So I know what it's like to deal with just a pen that is so bad. So it's been great to actually have one. That's great. Josh Winkowski, who came over in the Andrew Benintendi, your good old friend Andrew Benintendi, that came over in that trade has been insane in the pen. So it's like, it's been great. And it's like, that's the thing is you can put together a bullpen really well. It's just you gotta like figure out those guys that to put in there. The Rays always do it. So
yeah, they do.
Yeah. But then you also have to get the big guys too sometimes. You got Kenley Jansen or Chris Martin.
Yeah. I think Pedro Gafal has a crush on Romy Gonzalez because for some reason he constantly finds his way in. Like just earlier today, he's suddenly in the outfield and he's not an outfielder. He's an infielder. And he drops the ball and makes these ridiculous plays. And, naturally everybody's going to like jump on him. But at the same time, he has no business being out there.
Yeah.
He has no business really being in this lineup because his bat is just ice cold right now. But for some reason, he's in every game. And
there's always those guys that it never makes sense to you. But that's Ryan Brazier. For me, sure.
I'm just hoping that I just hope he gets DFA'd, and I hope once Tim is back that, and this is no dig at Oscar Colas because I think he's great and he has great potential. He's not ready, for the big leagues, and he needs a little bit more time. They brought him up way too soon, so I'm hoping once Tim is back, Tim will be back Tuesday for that Twins series. I'm hoping some things shift a little.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. Like you said, you have a lot of injuries too. You don't have your closer, you don't have your shortstop. Like it's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But there are some good news for some guys getting paid. Jake Cronenworth, 7 years, $80 million to stay in San Diego. The Cubs are committing to Ian Happ. He got 3 years, 61, so he'll be paid through 2026. Logan Webb got 5 years, $90 million. Pablo Lopez, 4 years, $73.5 million. Hunter Green, 6 years, $53 million. And then, final Brian Reynolds got that, big 8 years, $106.75. But that somehow still even feels low. I thought like he was going to be. I just thought he was going to be looking for like so much more money. The fact that they were able to get him. It's $100 million. I would just jump for joy if somebody was like, here's $100 million. But in the spectrum of what this sport has become, you're like, oh wow, maybe those Pirates got something pretty good there.
Yeah, I love and hate the Pablo Lopez deal because he is such a menace for the White Sox all the time. But he's so good. He really deserves that. And Hunter Green, like I'm just excited to see how he really pans out.
Yeah, and it's great that these teams are actually willing to invest in their players. That's great. Like the Red Sox actually invested in, Rafael Devers, especially after, fans complaining that they didn't want to pay Betts or Bogarts. And I think if you're going to do the three of them, Mookie Betts is generational. Mookie Betts is the 5-tool dream. Like that's not taking away. So if you were going to pay anybody, that's who you pay. But if it just went beyond that and you just couldn't get him, he didn't want to stay here, sure, fine. Then you move on. And if you have Bogarts and you have Devers, you take Devers. And they did the right thing, in my opinion.
They did.
So.
Oh. And then we've got Spencer Strider, who's very, very good. Let's just go over some of these stats so far. So in each of his first 5 starts, Strider struck out at least 9 batters. Mm-hmm. He has yet to allow more than 4 hits in a game, and he didn't allow any runs in 3 of those 5 starts. And while not quite as impressive as a 16 strikeout gem against the Rockies from last September, his recent outing against the Marlins, 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, 13 strikeouts, and then a no-hitter carried into the 8th inning. And again, he has not even been an MLB starter for a full calendar year, but he's making a case to be the National League Cy Young.
Yeah, and Alex Anthopoulos already signed him to an extension that's pennies, because I don't know what like voodoo like they have going on in down. Like I just can't even. Like I honestly have no idea how the Braves were able to get these guys
right,
like on just obscene, cheap, like superstars, like signing superstars to, you know, in the scheme of what baseball is with money, in essence, pennies. This was like Spencer Strider was a 6-year, $75 million extension. And if he's pitching like this, he's pitching out of his mind. So I don't know. Some like the voodoo juju that like the Rays have as like a team is how Alex Anthopoulos like is able to just sign guys, and just so like the idea of like how good they are is they're able to say bye to Freddie Freeman, and even though they didn't win the World Series, they were still for the season a better team than they were in the year that they had their run to the World Series. And that is insane. And they've got these guys still here for a good period of time. So they're going to be great because they signed like cost-controlled superstars, and it's insane. And I'm jealous.
Right. He also has a great mustache. Yes, I don't love it as much as Dylan Cease.
Well,
because that's bias. But I think it's something about these, you know, Cy Young candidates that are causing them to grow out these ridiculously cool mustaches.
I love it. I love it. And I guess we could probably end this, you know, because we are hitting the hour mark pretty soon. I guess we could sort of end it with, you know, how are you feeling about some of the new rules that we've got going on in baseball?
Yeah, I love the pitch clock.
I actually do too.
I love it, and I love that they ban the shift because it gives Yasmani Grandal a chance to get on base.
And Alex Verdugo is doing what he did once I knew the shift would get banned. So I am also for it too.
Yes, I love that. The rest, I mean, I don't notice anything with the bases, honestly.
Yeah, me neither. It's been fun seeing them like run a little more. At least the Red Sox have been. So like that's been really cool.
Yeah, there's been a lot more base stealing too, which is good.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I'm kind of all for them. Again, though, I was already kind of used to them because they tested them out in the minors first, and I go to a ton of minor league games. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I was used to them, but I love them.
Yes. The fact is that like the Red Sox played a game under 2 hours so far this season, and that's crazy. I love the pace of it. Like I love baseball. I love watching it, but sometimes it just would drag on to an obscene amount. And like, you also get the people being like, I spent so much money and I want to get my money's worth. But at the same time, like there's your money's worth. And then there's being like so much time that's just being wasted really, because, you know, Kenley Jansen, who's actually adapted to it extremely well. I'm impressed, would take 5 hours to throw a pitch. Or what was it? Was it Garcia who, on the Astros, who would take 5,000 hours with his like weird little windup? Yeah. So it's great that we're actually seeing, you know, it happening. And then of course you get like boomers bitching about how, what if it's like game 7 and there's a pitch clock violation? I'm like, well, they should have known. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially if you've reached game 7, you should have known. But
yeah.
I also wonder how Craig Kimbrell is holding up with this pitch clock. Talking about like weird,
like the condor, like
you're not Chris Sale, you're not the condor. Like,
yes,
bring it down a little.
Oh God, I do not miss Craig Kimbrell.
No, I do not miss him either.
Giving me heart attacks all the time.
We've both had to deal with him, and I'm glad.
Yeah, yes,
he's
and
not
now
our problems.
Yeah, exactly. He can be somebody else's problem. Sorry. Whew, scary. But yeah, so yeah, my thing, everything, I like that. I don't care. I hate the Ghost Runner in extras.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one thing that I don't like. Especially if the games are shorter now. Get rid of that shit. Like, I don't know. That's the only one. Everything else, I'm very okay with change, and I'm excited to see change. And they've been seemingly adapting well to it. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Yeah. So that's pretty much this month in baseball. We'll be back next month too. Thanks to Crystal for coming up with the notes. I'll do a little more on my end next month. I've just been crazy today because I decided that I'm going to do Whole30, and I've been meal prepping. Oh my God. So we're going to see, because I'm like, I want for the first time in my life that beach ready.
Right. So, I had to go gluten-free, and that's been a nightmare and a half too. So yeah. I feel you.
So I've been like meal prepping. So I'm like, I got to go back to doing that once we jump off here. So thank you for doing all that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, always. I'm just happy that we could get back to this. We missed you guys so much.
Yes, thank you, Nathan,
for joining this chat as well.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So thank you. But we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Sorry, it's like the